Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Let's get inside Roy Smalley's mind. I know that sounds scary, but let me explain.
Oh, man, worse than Malkovich.
I really want to get into, we know that Roy played before the era of massive contracts. But we've seen some really interesting decisions made by this free agent crop. And now that we know that it's not collusion, that there are people just making, taking a while to get the deal they want and willing to wait it out, I think it's really fascinating some of the choices that Harper and Machado and other free agents are making right now, including Kimbrel, who we've recommended to the Twins highly. Let's get into all that. This is Roy Smalley's Chin Music. This is our baseball show on TalkNorth.com. Roy Smalley, of course, the former Twin and Yankee and elsewhere great. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Please follow us at Talk North Pod on Twitter. Please download before you listen. And if you would like to advertise with this program, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to Barry Coffee, barrycoffee.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent, Champlin. So it's pretty interesting how things shook out. Harper signs the richest deal ever with Philadelphia. Large market, but not the largest market. And he decided to go 13 years, so he's saying, I really believe this is where I want to spend my entire career, which I think is fascinating. Machado signs with the Padres, one of the smallest markets in baseball. Beautiful place, but a small market with a team that doesn't always compete. Now that we know that's what happened, what do you make of those deals?
It's an awful lot of money for those organizations to have on the books every year as they try to become contenders for long periods of time. And I think what it means, the Phillies have been amazingly active, spent an awful lot of money in the last couple of years. The Padres, not so much, but both of those teams now have saddled themselves with especially the small market San Diego, with annual payroll numbers that are it's just going to make it interesting to see what ownership is going to be able to do or want to do going forward. We talked last week about the wow factor. Well, both teams have just gone all in on the wow factor for their fans, and that's great. Over the next 6 years, how much are they going to win? The next 8 years, the life of those contracts, 10 and 13 years, how much are they going to win? And that will be really predicated on the players that they'll have around these guys. So, those organizations know more than I do about their confidence in young guys they have in the minor leagues. But if they, that are going to come and support, these mega stars. So I can't say that they're wrong at all, but it does add an element of gulp at some point in time about what the annual player expenditure is going to be when they go to find the next guy that's going to put them over the hump, or in the case of the Padres, maybe the next 2 or 3 guys. We just don't know. And there's such different cases. Harper's going to a team that is trying to win a championship this year, that wants to win championships in the future, that is trying to build the closest thing it can to an all-star team. And, they're going for it. They're going for it now, and obviously if they're signing for 13 years, they expect to be able to go for it at least periodically. The Padres signed a mega contract to a guy who they expect to be kind of the point man for a very good farm system, but they're not going to win this year. And again, I just find the deals really fascinating. And I also find I find it fascinating and maybe encouraging that it wasn't the Yankees, Mets, or Dodgers who ended up with these players. Well, I think that's a great point, and it goes to the other point that I was going to make in this deal. The game is pretty doggone healthy, right? I mean, baseball is, and the industry is making a ton of money. There's no other way to look at it. They can't say anything more about that, anything different than that, because otherwise the San Diego Padres and Philadelphia Phillies could not even consider spending that kind of money on one player. So I think the health of the game is very good economically. I think teams are, for the most part, being judicious about how much money they spend on these contracts. But when it's a guy that they think is really special to them for the next 5-10 years, they're willing to gamble on the economics that they currently have on their particular team and what they expect of their team, fan base, and industry going forward. So I think the biggest thing is about these deals is an indication of the economic health of baseball and the popularity of baseball right now.
Absolutely. The next question I'm going to ask you is what you would have valued most if you were a free agent in your prime as a power hitting shortstop with an good on base percentage. You would have drawn a good crowd, and I'm interested in what you would have valued most, whether it's average annual value, length of contract, location, chance to win, because all these are kind of psychological tests almost if you have a lot of offers on the table. First, let's thank Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. We've told you about so many aspects of their business. I just want to emphasize that they can provide just about anything you want. Obviously, they have the Bull Run Roast coffees that are fantastic in and of themselves. They have great equipment. They can outfit, your home, your bar, your restaurant. But they can also just provide really good products, cups and lids, flavored Altera coffees, K-cups, coffee, cocoa, cider. They will, while they're very green and a lot of their stuff is very healthy, they will provide soda if that's what you want. I know I try to be fairly healthy, but every once in a while I just want a Coke. Sometimes there's no substitute for that. K-cup teas, K-cup coffees, water and sports drinks, coffee in portion packs, coffee whole bean bulk, instant beverages, juices and specialty drinks, creamers, sweeteners, syrups, paper goods and janitorial, all kinds of teas, and yes, snacks, because every once in a while you do want a Snickers or something like that. Cider, chai tea, cappuccino. They pretty much have everything you could want in any category, no matter what you're doing. I know, when I move, I'm going to be moving soon, and I'm going to talk to Steve and see what he would recommend for just home use, just somebody who wants to drink a cup of coffee or two in the morning. And I'm sure he has plenty of options there. So check out berrycoffee.com for all of those options. All right, Roy, so you're a free agent in your prime. There are hundreds of millions of dollars out there. Do you value average annual value of the contract? Do you value length of term? Do you value winning, ballpark, climate? What is at the top of your list?
All of those things play into it, and depending on the offers that you get from the various teams, some of them start becoming moot point. I mean, so yeah, you'd like to say climate until as a part of it at least, it would be for me. But if you don't, if you don't get an offer from the California Angels and Los Angeles Dodgers, then the climate becomes less of a deal. I think that ballparks have a lot to do with it. I think what players have seen now, or I think what players have seen, we can think of examples of, Morneau and Mauer going in, leaving the Metrodome and going to Target Field, and the drop off there, the ballpark related drop off there. We talked about Cano going and in Seattle, and the third baseman for the Rangers that just retired. That was in
Adrian Beltre.
Yeah, Beltre. So I mean, I think there have been enough of those kinds of examples. I think players look at that. The first thing I thought about when Bryce Harper went to the Phillies was, he might hit 55 home runs in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bandbox, and he's, if no part of the park can hold him, then a la David Ortiz when he went to Fenway and realized there were an awful lot of home runs and doubles to center and left. He'd have to try to pull everything. It made him just a fearsome hitter in all phases. It could be that kind of boost for Harper as well. So you think about a lot of stuff. Really, when it starts getting to when it's about money, I don't think the time is that important unless you say, I want 13 years. I'm going to play till I'm 39 years old, and I don't want to go anywhere else. Pending, no trade clauses and things like that. But you look at the kind of the market of players that are, comparable to you from position standpoint and what you've done relative to them, and obviously Harper is the kind of guy that potentially doesn't have a lot of peers, and so he's going to get a big deal. He knows he's going to get a big deal, and then it's just a question of how much is the total value, and how much does that does the length of the contract play into it. For most guys, I think it's just, I want to play. I want to have some security for 5 years minimum, and I want to make a lot of money. So what do you got?
Yeah. Here's the other interesting aspect of this. There's a report out that the Dodgers offered Harper like 4 years, $180 million, $45 million a year, if my math is correct. So the Dodgers didn't want to get trapped long term, but they absolutely had massive amount of money to pay him short term. And then so Harper chose playing in Philadelphia longer term over playing in Los Angeles shorter term, making a ridiculous amount of money. Now, I don't know if taxes might be a little bit more in California, but that's another facet. These, when agents speak, you always have to be really cautious about believing everything they say. But Boris said that Harper wanted to be someplace where he could recruit players and win long term. And signing the deal he signed over the alternatives makes that sound like that's actually true.
Yeah, it could very well be true. And, I think players now, when you get, tax bracket's not an issue, right? Whether you get it over 5 years or 25 years, it's the highest bracket. It's not so. I think what a lot of players would think about is a bit of enforced reality in terms of. And it's funny to say that, I'd rather have $22 million for longer than $45 million for shorter, because then I won't spend it all up, right? And I won't have. But I think there is when you're talking about those kinds of numbers. That's lottery. Those are lottery numbers that you get paid almost for life, and you just can't mess that up. It's just too much. It's too much money. And so, do I really care whether it's $22 million or $45 million in any given year? No, it's a lot of money, and I'm going to get paid that for a long time. That's attractive.
Absolutely. We have some Twitter questions we want to get to. And I want to ask you about Sano's heel and what your level of concern for that is. Let's thank Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, Hoaglund. You can work with him via app, via phone, by email, by calling his staff, by calling Tony himself. He handles my insurance, and it's been great.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all 700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
So Miguel Sano, there's a report, I think the Athletic reported that, hey, there's a chance Miguel Sano might not